Okay, here's a demo on arrays and a little bit about 2D arrays and array lists. All go kind of hand in hand. So I'm in a project, I'll show you really quick, with the circles. So a couple videos back we talked about circle class a little bit, so I'll mention them again. So here's what an array looks like. So first you declare the type. An array is a list. So it could be a list of integers, it could be a list of doubles, it could be a list of strings, it could be a list of circles. Okay? So the type that you're dealing with is going to come first. If you're dealing with an array, it'll have brackets afterwards. So let's just say I'll call these nums. Okay? Now one way to declare an array would be to do new int, which would be again the type, and to declare the size. So this is a list or an array of ints. They're all stored to be 0 right now until I change them. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to make nums2 or nums3 5. That's how you initialize one of the values. So what I'm going to do is index 2 is actually the third number, because just like strings, arrays start at index 0. So right now it'll be 0, 0, 5, 0, 0. And let's use a for loop to go through this array. Now it starts off at index 0. I'm going to go through all the indices of nums. Now length is a field in an array. It's not a method. There's no parentheses. It's just a field. So notice that I don't hit an equals to nums.length, because if the length is 5, there are 5 numbers. There's not a number at index 5. It will give you out of bounds. I just go 0. The indices go from 0 to 4. There are 5 of those. So let's just see nums bracket I. So I'm printing out nums, and then this gives me the index. So it starts at index 0, goes to index 4, and whatever number's in there, it'll print. So right now it should be 0, 0, 5, and then 0, 0. That's what we get. Okay? So there's our first array. And that's the first way you can initialize an array. Okay? Another way that you can initialize an array is, so I could have done that 5 times and initialized all values. You can also, kind of a shortcut version here of arrays, separated by commas, in braces. So this creates an array of integers 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, and it doesn't have to be 5 because we don't declare the size here. Now that's 6. So all this is going to do is traverse through this array and print all 6 numbers. Okay, there it is. Now, we've done things like this. You might want to int sum. You know, it's not just always print them out. You can do things to every value in the list. So let's just say sum plus equals, which is going to be keep a running sum, nums bracket I. So now it will add up these numbers: 5, 9, 14, 23, 31. And if I wanted to print that out of the loop, it should be 31. Okay, so that's an array. That's how arrays work. You obviously will have to practice. Coding back's a great place to practice. There's also, I'll just mention all 3 of them. There's a 2D array. Now what a 2D array is an array of arrays. So if you think of an array as a list of numbers, let's just say there's 3 numbers, 2, 3, 4. That's an array. However, I can make a 2-dimensional array, which is changed like this, which is just an array of arrays. Okay? We'll talk about rows and columns and things like that, but at its core, that's what it is. So it would be something like this. Okay. There. So what this does is creates an array that is 2, 3, 4 is the first array, and 3, 5, 8 is the second array. Now, you can think of them as rows and columns, because you could put 3, 5, 8 on below 2, 3, 4, like a matrix. And it would be, this would be the first row, this would be the second row. So you'll hear a lot about rows and columns, but understand the relationship between, this is just an array of arrays. Okay? So, before we loop through this thing, let's see that this compiles first. Okay? Now, if we print out nums.length, we might say nums doesn't have a length, it's a two-dimensional array. But remember, it's an array of arrays. So the length, not going to be 3, not going to be 6, it's going to be 2. Because there are 2 elements in nums. Okay? So let's see that. Okay? So that's nums.length. Now, if I wanted to get the number of elements, or whatever, these are integers, but if I wanted to get how many elements are in a row, in other words, how many columns there are, I could do nums bracket 0. Now, if you think about what nums bracket 0 is, nums bracket 0 is this array. Nums bracket 1 would be this array. And if I get the length of that array, it will give me 3, which will be basically the number of columns that I have. Okay? So, if you wanted to go through, it's very common, and you'll do it so many times it will be easy, but you know, it's everyone's slightly different. But we'll use a nested for loop. Let's go through nums.length. This will go through from 0 to 1, which is basically this array and this array. Okay? Now, inside that, I'll go through nums bracket 0.length. Now, technically, it would, if you did nums bracket I would give you whatever row you were on at the time, and it would give you that number of columns. A little bit easier in AP Computer Science, you're always going to have a rectangular array, which means the number of columns will be the same in every row. So you can just do nums bracket 0.length. But I guess the universal way to do that would be nums bracket I. Nums bracket I would give you the, like when this is 1, nums bracket 1 would give you 3, 5, 8. You get that length, which would also be 3. Okay, and then now let's do system.out.print nums ij. So that's how you call an element in a two-dimensional array. You give it the row and the column. Okay, in other words, which array am I dealing with, and then which element do I want. Okay, but you'll hear rows and columns, so get used to understanding what that is. That's just what row and what column you're on. And then I'll do a system.out.print line there. So let me do that's a tab. So it's going to give me 2 tab 3 tab 4, actually another tab. Then it's going to print that line, because remember how for loops work, or nested for loops work. It will complete this for loop before it ever goes to this loop. Okay, so and then it'll print line. So it will print them basically on 2 separate lines. Okay. Okay, must have messed up the parentheses there. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 3, 5, 8. So that looks like a matrix, which you'd see in math class. Okay, so as opposed to going to array lists at this time, I'm going to save it for another video. I'll talk about array lists. I'll also show you how you work with arrays and array lists with objects. So I'll use the circle class.